So, okay, what do you, I guess, like, what were some, like, big lessons learned? What do you guys feel like you learned from, like, dating each other versus, like, marriage? And, like, the two things, like, what do you feel like you both, like, learned from it? And, like, any insights into, what you could give advice to other people?
You go first. I want to see what you say.
I guess one that applies to both actually is communication and just being very open and honest about, and honesty, I guess, is another, extension to that.
Yeah.
Because again, like, Laurin was married before, and I was in a pretty bad relationship, kind of just toxic for both of us. And so when we got together and started kind of just hanging out even, and it was just one of those things where I was like, look, like, I'm a little messed up. I'm kind of in a weird place. I'm not sure if I'm getting into grad school or if I'm moving home. Like, it's just kind of like, that's who I am, but we can hang out and, see what happens.
See where it goes.
So it was like, I feel like if I had tried to be something I wasn't in the beginning, then it would not have worked out the way it did.
Yeah.
And so that was huge. And then, wow. Austin's face.
Keep that part
for the dating
That's
part.
What she said.
It's Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, another lesson is you gotta have something that's funny and fun, because it can't be boring all day every day.
Yeah, I think for the dating part, again, is just like find someone who you can build an empire with.
Yeah, it's true.
It was so huge for me because I was like, look, like, I mean, we've talked about it in other instances where you and I have talked about these things, but like whenever I went from being an undergrad to going back into grad school, like I burned the boat on a regular job because I was like, I'm taking on all this more debt because, I paid for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, student loans and hashtag. And I was like, I'm burning the boat on a $20 an hour job, that's never going to pay back my student loans.
You can't.
I mean, I'm going to have to go for gold at this point, right?
Yeah.
You got to go for broke. And so when Laurin came into my life and, we started talking about, are we going to do this thing for the long haul? It was like, okay, well, as long as we both have realistic expectations of where this is going.
Yeah.
Because it was like, again, like the normal, quote unquote, buy a house, have a kid in a year, do this. I was like, that ain't me. You know, like I'm shooting for, Lamborghinis and, mansions and, starting businesses with good friends of mine.
Dogs.
Yeah. Multiple dogs. Yeah. And everybody's dream's different too. And So how do you when did you have that conversation in your relationship? Because I feel like sometimes like when you have that conversation too early, it can, if it's not clear on things, it can really just squash everything.
I feel
and you lose the fun out of it.
That happened for us. It was one of those we just kind of came out and said everything within the first few weeks.
Oh wow!
At that point, I mean, we both came from pretty shitty relationships, so we were just kind of over it at that point. And it was if you're not the one, I'm not going to waste my time. So let me just tell you my background, you tell me yours, and then from there, if we're okay with that, let's talk about a future and what we see is gonna work for us. And if it doesn't match up, then I'm not with the right person.
Yeah, it was sort of right around the time once it became real, and it went from being like this person I'm hanging out with to like, okay, this is like a girlfriend, this is a partner, like you get that first fight under your belt and you realize because when you have that first fight, that's like, okay, either I care enough about this person to we need to figure this out, or it's okay, get the hell out of
here. And I feel like you learn if you're on a team at that first fight too, or if you're just individuals trying to have another person be in your life.
Right. Yeah, we had that conversation very early on, and then I guess the other half of your original question with marriage, Actually, it's funny. I had this conversation with my mom last night where we were talking about the line for where you respect your other half, right? And it's some people are right in the middle, right? They can kind of rip on their partner a little bit, but then they respect them, you know, and everything else. I'm probably a little more conservative where like, I'm like, we are not going to disrespect each other in this relationship. Like we might like make jokes a little bit here and there, but like for the most part, like I would never let anyone else say anything disrespectful to her. So like, how dare I turn around and do the same thing? You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to hold myself to my own standards, you know? And so I said, that would be, you know, find someone you can build an empire with, make sure that you're respectful, and then always have communication, honesty, and openness.